The famous phrase, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, Mark, transing the children makes me happy, so I get to pursue what makes me personally happy, right? That's what that phrase means, right?
Well, this is one of the other narratives from the progressive camp. I actually have a whole chapter on this in my first book. It's chapter 7, and it's called The Pursuit of Happiness. So here's what was going on. In the late 1600s, after about 150 years of a bunch of people reading the Bible, because it was converted and written in English, and the printing press allowed for a lot of copies to be made. This is really what triggered a lot of this new thinking. Folks started to piece together that we do have rights from God, and he wants us to live in harmony with the moral law, which means I have a right to my life. And as people are going on their own faith journey, they're going to have beliefs that are probably not right. And we're going to have to not persecute them for that, because recall the medieval church from about 500 AD 500 to 1500. We were persecuting a lot of Christians who did not toe the line from a theological standpoint. And so a lot of folks were looking at that and saying, we've got to extend liberty to these folks. And liberty, there's religious liberty, which is the freedom to have and express an opinion, even if it's wrong, and civil liberty, which is the ability to accumulate and manage property, including your body. You have a right to manage what your body is exposed to, what you see, what you eat, what you hear, and what you inject in it. This is why the vaccinations are not a biblical right. And so they started to piece all this together. And the last thing so they started saying life, liberty, and they were saying property, because at that point there was a big issue with people being able to keep their property. So if you read some of the legal and theologians who were writing about this, they always said life, liberty, and property. And in fact, if you look at the 13th Amendment, I think it's the 13th, or it might be the 14th, which is when we canceled slavery. One of those amendments, the one that deals with this, it actually says life, liberty, and property. They wanted to make it really clear that former slaves could own property. But when it came to the drafting of the Declaration, Jefferson picked a different phrase. The phrase he used was the pursuit of happiness. Now, to piece this together, this almost happened by accident. I was reading the preface to the Commentaries on the Laws of England, written by Sir William Blackstone in, I think it was 1765. And so this was about a 15-page preface to his how to apply the common law from the Bible as a justice. So it was an early work. And as you can imagine, it was not very exciting to read. But in the preface, this is the good part. The preface, basically Blackstone is saying, before I explain to you how to apply the law in the courtroom, let me tell you a little bit about the law. And he just starts talking about the law. And at one point, he says that if you follow the law, and he's talking about the moral law at this time, which is summarized by the Ten Commandments. He says, if you follow it, it will make you happy. And if you want to be happy, the way to be happy is to follow it. Like he's explaining it backwards and forwards. And he's saying, this is the only way. And to summarize it, this is really the pursuit of happiness. And so what he's saying is that what pursuit of happiness actually meant in that era was pursuing God as your conscience dictated, as you're going through your own personal faith journey. And when you realize the pursuit of happiness has that meaning, and you're reading all the quotes from that era, right, boom, all of a sudden you see pursuit of happiness and happiness all over the place. And they're actually playing off of that definition. In fact, there's one quote from Jefferson, which is amazing. I should have it up and ready to read. I'm pretty sure it's in both books. It's such a great quote on the pursuit of happiness. But think about that, Jeremiah. What they're saying in our founding covenant is that we want people to have a right to their life, their liberty. In other words, we're not going to persecute them for what they say and think. We're not going to take away their property, and we're going to let them pursue God as their conscience dictates. That's what that phrase means. By the way, fully recognizing people may choose not to follow God.